Alex Answer here at the special report. It is July 29th, 2016. For those of you that were following the developments in Costilla County, we talked about a particular individual by the name of Bruce Doucette. And the questions that we have about this person's background, who has been misleading people, claiming that he is a superior court judge of the continental United States of America. We're going to be speaking with Kyle Reardon about Bruce Doucette because it appears that Bruce Doucette hasn't gone on vacation and maybe gone on to do some other things. It seems as if this individual is attempting to go from off-grid community to off-grid community to, I speculate, create a disturbance. And we'll go over some of the major points. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Bruce Doucette, who may come across him later, you should know who this individual is. Kyle, thanks for joining me.
No, it's good to be back with you, Alex, as always.
So where would you like to begin? I know that we want to cover basically the cliff notes of who Bruce Doucette is, but it appears that he's coming back on the radar. What have you heard?
Well, in terms of the sources in it, and I want to make this clear to the listeners, this is still under investigation, but there have been some things that were confirmed, it would seem, from at least multiple sources. The long and short of it is that it would appear to be the case that Bruce Doucette is attempting to replicate what happened last October at the so-called Meet the Judge event in Costilla County that you attended. And he's trying to replicate that elsewhere in Colorado. And the main question right now is he going to be successful or not? And hopefully there'll be more transparency on this as opposed to last time where, unfortunately, you got kicked out of the Meet the Judge event. So hopefully this other event or whatever will it'll go better, at least for our side.
So for those listening, to get the full story of what already happened, go to YouTube and type in "Who is Bruce Doucette?" And I think the subtitle was "And what is he doing in Burns, Oregon?" And the cliff notes of that is there was a guy by the name of Roger Marsh who claimed to be at the Bundy event, very radical, claimed to be a patriot, kept saying code is not law. And he was, in my opinion, trying to rally people up to some sort of a movement to maybe even a fight with the cops based on the rhetoric that he was saying. And this person also came up with a number of warrants to Costilla County. And so, ironically, he was arrested at a hotel room. Apparently, Roger Marsh wasn't even an off-the-gridder, and yet he's coming to the off-grid community claiming to help. So he kept saying, I'm bringing a superior court judge. But first he said Supreme Court judge, and that kind of confused people. And then it became superior court judge of the continental United States of America. Whips out a cell phone, has an impromptu conversation with Bruce Doucette. Now, Bruce Doucette was supposed to be at that first meeting at the Fort Garland Community Center. And all we got was Roger Marsh holding out a cell phone. And this guy on the other end, by the name of Bruce Doucette, was saying that he's bringing down the U.S. Marshals, claiming that the feds or the government were already investigating Costilla County. So, I mean, he has a track record of making up bogus claims that absolutely went nowhere. And what this really did is it derided the movement that we already had. And people, unfortunately, put their hopes in these individuals, and it divided the off-grid community. So that was back in October of 2015, the Meet the Judge event. And Kyle, I think you have the exact date. I think it was the 17th.
Or I believe it was October 16th, but if you give me a minute, yeah, I can
Right.
reconfirm that date. But yes, it was in mid-October.
Right, and so now here we are in July of 2016, and in between Costilla County, in between this current situation, we saw Bruce Doucette go to what county in Oregon?
Harney County.
And so with all that going on, a lot of people, suspect maybe the feds have even been involved in that to see if they could, maybe build up their database of so-called patriots that might be resisting at a point later on. And there were a number of suspicious individuals, like we talked about that in other podcasts, Pete Santilli, Blaine Cooper, a couple other names that we could mention, Ritzmeyer. And then it was Kyle. That's how Kyle and I both met. He came across the Costilla County story. And Kyle, kind of go over what you discovered about this fake judge movement. I mean, it's startling to see that you have a number of people that kind of came on the scene in recent years, the last year, that only in the last year of 2015 declared themselves a self-appointed judge.
Yeah, just to follow up on that previous detail, yes, the Meet the Judge event, which was near Lobato Bridge, was on October 16th of 2015. Just to follow up on that detail, but yes, after the events of Costilla County, apparently Bruce Doucette was not the only fake judge. There were other individuals like Anna Von Reitz and Gary Darby, and I think even a few others that I then wrote about in a follow-up article, which was about fake judges, and that article, I think, has actually been, based on what some of my readers have told me, various stat counters and whatever else, has actually been my most popular article to date. In excess of 2,000 views was the conservative number. It's probably more now. But yes, all throughout last year.
The exact title?
Oh, of fake judges, you mean? That article?
Yes.
Okay, the exact title is Fake Judges, How and Why Sovereign Citizens Are Undermining Patriot Groups.
Okay.
That's the name of the Fake Judges article. And yeah, I named names. And as you were mentioning a moment ago, yes, throughout last year in 2015, Anna Von Reitz declared herself a, quote, Alaska State Superior Court judge in her declaration of judgeship on April 28th. Bruce Doucette on May 23rd signed his oath for constitutional Superior Court judge. And similarly, Gary Darby signed his alleged oath of office on August 24th. So yes, this is very much a new trend of the sovereign citizens is to declare themselves to be judges, even though it's they're not part of the established government as it stands. So that's kind of where that is. And people who want to know more details, where I go into a lot more what happened with the fake judges, not just Bruce Doucette, but also others, is in the fake judges article. So yeah, there's a documented history is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And so very briefly, what are some of the situations where we've seen these fake judges at? We've listed now Costilla County and Burns, Oregon. What are some of the other situations where they have been seen recently?
Well, the latest development, and again, I can't stress this enough to the audience, this is still under investigation. Which is why it hasn't been written about yet or otherwise mentioned in the alternative media, is supposedly there's another location, and maybe I should hold back at least some details because things are in motion right now. But yes, there's supposedly another meeting that is going to be held by somebody else who is kind of in the position of somebody like a Roger Marsh, arguably, basically the fall guy for Bruce Doucette. And they're putting on a meeting that's supposedly about land rights meeting, I think is what they're calling it. And so that's kind of disconcerting. Now, upon a follow-up, there's another colleague of mine who's actually assisting me with this. And basically, he was able to double-check. Hold on, I'm going to pull up some of the screenshots.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I will also share what little information that was given to me regarding what you're talking about, because you're the second source of information on this. This county that we're discussing is not a county that's having the exact same situation in Costilla County. That's probably the most important thing to say. It's the county where, for the most part, off-gridders are living in peace. What was told to me, because I'm not the first-hand witness of the initial comment, the announcement of this meeting in this county, which again sounds a lot like the Meet the Judge event. The person with the grievance posted in a group saying, I am bringing two sovereign or rather superior court judges, and that's what got the attention of friends of mine that were already aware of my research and your research into Bruce Doucette. So when they heard those buzzwords, superior court judges, two of them from Colorado, their ears perked up. And so the person with the grievance, probably more important details, not known to the community. Not under the name of Roger Marsh. We don't know who he is. I don't know who he is, but not a known member of the community. A new member of the community that was upset that he wasn't getting his way, wanting to build a big house. And what I mean by big house just to cut to the short of it, a lot of people are flying under the radar and living off the grid in a lot of places in America by building tiny homes under a certain square footage
Mm-hmm.
and say officially living in their RV. That's how they're getting away with it. And there's also certain county web pages to where it says you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, but they're not enforcing it. But the state is pressuring them to be a little bit more aggressive regarding the septic system. So there is state influence behind the greater encroachment upon the off-gridder rights. However, in Costilla County, I think it was plain to see that was the county themselves, with potentially some other powerful players. But I want to say at this county where this is taking place, where Bruce Doucette was acting like he's coming to the rescue, this is a county where there's not major stuff going on like Costilla. In fact, you have established off-gridders that have been here for some time. Whereas Costilla County, there were people that were coming there later because they just found out about it in the last year. And the county was trying to stop settlement from taking place. In this situation, settlement has already occurred. So if there was to be something like, okay, we're going to start kicking people off the land in this particular county, the county would be provoking a war with its own people in a much more direct way. And in this situation, you don't have it like split down the line, Hispanic versus white. You have predominantly white. So I don't think that we're going to see an exact repeat of Costilla County. What concerned me when I heard about Bruce Doucette, it sounds now at this point that the man is an infiltrator and that he's trying to redirect constitutional people to something. Now, we don't know what yet. But what I can't believe or wrap my head around is the idea that he is doing this organically as a volunteer. I don't believe that he genuinely wants to help people. I don't believe that Bruce Doucette is his real name. I think we need to find out who he actually is. He has a LinkedIn page saying that he, what does he have, a salary of $1 million a year running a computer company? And the media reported on Bruce Doucette going to Burns, and without actually investigating his background, they just repeat that he has a computer store in Denver. Well, if he has a computer store in Denver, where's that? How does the media know he has a computer store in Denver? So, Kyle, we're seeing really poor research on the part of the media and their reports on Bruce. I think people would rather just believe he's a crazy man, sovereign citizen, who's just represents the fringe aspect of the constitutional movement. I don't think he does. I think he's not legit in any way. Also, he's not even asking for donations. He's obviously self-financed or financed. And, if the man was legitimate, then where is his background of being involved in court cases? That's what I'm asking the audience. That's probably the most skeptical to what I'm saying. Maybe people that are angry that we're questioning the so-called judge. Where is his history in any courtroom? So anyway, there was mention of two of them, not one. And my suspicions are that the other so-called Superior Court judge is a man by the name of Steve Curry, if I'm correct. And if someone Googles Steve Curry, and I don't know very much about him, but there's more about Steve Curry than Bruce Doucette on the web. And a lot of it traces to some fake meteorite claims. Kyle, I'm sure you came across some of this.
My colleague didn't mention anything from his sources about Steve Curry, but I'm aware of a man who is called Steve Curry that was mentioned in some other controversies not too long ago. But actually, there is one detail I did want to get out. The guy, the local, and I don't want to say his name because, again, like I said, this is under investigation, but the guy who's probably going to be the equivalent of the fall guy, like a Roger Marsh, my colleague did get a screenshot from one of the locals about what this other local being the fall guy, probably going to be the fall guy, said, quote, "You need to explain yourself. Judge Doucette has offered to come here and help. He will not be at this meeting, hopefully a future one. But if you have an issue with the Superior Court judge, explain it," close quote. So apparently, I don't know, Alex, this could be a possible repeat of Costilla. I will disagree with you slightly about that. This very well may be a repeat where, much like what happened, there'll be kind of like a ramp up. There'll be like a series of meetings, and then Doucette will be at the last one.
Okay, so this is all taking place then in a Facebook group not open to the public that is a closed group, quote unquote, for the community only. And even though it's only for the community, from what I've heard, somehow Bruce Doucette, who's not a community member, was playing a role in this.
Here's the problem. There's multiple different groups, and Doucette is a member of only one of them that I'm certain of. And unfortunately, there is kind of a fracturing that's already occurring of sorts, where some of the locals are trying to protect themselves from the other locals who do seem to support Doucette. So that's another reason why I'm saying this almost really does seem to be a repeat, at least in my view, of Castilla, at least so far.
Right,
but like I said, this is under investigation.
A bunch of mostly constitutionalists that are on that page, correct?
I honestly, I think it's a little too early to say, honestly.
Okay, so you have a mix of maybe different political beliefs
Yes.
that are off-gridders in a county, and I'm assuming that Bruce Doucette is in one of the main larger member Facebook groups.
That is probably correct, yes.
Okay, because there's only so many. So basically what we're looking at then is a online community split over Bruce Doucette, and would you say it was more one or the other in terms of people responding to him, or
supposedly,
were there any links shared that with regards to our research or your research that came across in the Facebook group?
Well, supposedly, one of the groups that my colleague was actually able to talk to some of the locals in, one of the I guess really call it a splinter group, became a splinter group because they were kicked out by the Roger Marsh equivalent in one of the other Facebook groups. And the Roger Marsh equivalent, of course, supports Doucette and was the one who made the statement that I just read verbatim. So
we're talking about control freaks. We're talking about people that are splitting off from the control freak aspect of the group admin politics.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. And so then that's what my colleague was mainly able to get me. Apparently, the spouse of the Roger Marsh equivalent might be willing, but again, like I said, I don't want to get into specifics. That's under investigation, like I said. But suffice it to say, ladies and gentlemen, this is in motion right now. This is happening in real time. So depending on what's discovered or what's not discovered, I really hope people, the locals there. And thankfully, there are multiple people who claim that they're going to go to the meeting with both audio and video and record. So hopefully that will be made public.
Oh, really?
Soon.
You heard this yourself, or these are people that you're in contact with?
This has been confirmed. Both audio and video, and multiple people doing this, going to the meeting. My colleague basically said one of them had to be persuaded. But yes, on my end of things, Alex, hopefully this will be much better than the horrid meet the judge thing and some of those other meetings were like, it was pretty much just you and that was it. This time should be noticeably different, I hope, where it's multiple different people, multiple audio and video recording devices, basically going to what is allegedly a public meeting, unless it's a private meeting. I don't know as far as that goes. But supposedly there should be more transparency on this. And what I'll say, Alex, is I'm looking forward to the footage.
So am I. And to recap on some of the things that have already happened at some of these, events and statements by Bruce Doucette, he's made statements such as, let's arrest the local officials with regards to Costilla County. Let's barge in there and demand to see their oath of office. And I think there were some other suggestions regarding Burns, Oregon, and arresting officials down there. And there was also some stuff regarding what other people may consider tyranny under the guise of the Constitution. And that's, the self-appointed grand juries, self-appointed U.S. Marshals, where people pretty much vote themselves into power. And, what can you tell us about some of this? Because Bruce Doucette has been no stranger to some of these super controversial, and some could even say extremist ideologies and viewpoints as to how to take back our country.
Okay, you mean just more recent history, not this newest development, you mean, in terms of the so-called common law courts and such?
With regards to Costilla County specifically, and discussing of arresting the public officials. And I believe that was on the table with Burns, Oregon.
Yes, it was.
Rhetoric was out there, and the media took that rhetoric, So they could say, look at these wacky constitutionalists. They're talking about arresting public officials. And I think that I'm trying to stress the severity of this because if Bruce Doucette is not who he says he is, and he's a federal agent, then the potential purpose, I'm speculating, I don't know, is that he's going around to different groups trying to radicalize and create criminal elements to thus disrupt those off-grid communities and disrupt whatever grassroots stuff was initially going on. So when we look at Burns, we can see sabotage, I believe. There was genuine issues with the Hammond family, and then it all went downhill. And then these, extremists pretty much arrived. And people like not only Blaine Cooper, but the other guy that Blaine was promoting, the guy that's saying that he was going to go jihad himself.
John Ritzheimer, you mean?
John Ritzheimer, yeah, a very extremist individual. So you and I and others were noticing, how this stuff didn't really seem organic towards the end, but very much controlled. So in our Bruce Doucette, it's like he's trying to incriminate the people that choose to associate themselves with him. And the only reason I'm saying that is because Homeland Security has already demonized the sovereign, quote, citizen movement, even if someone says that's an oxymoron, or the sovereigns. And to see people associate themselves with movements that are already on the radar, it seems to be a less than intelligent move.
Yeah, and like I mentioned in both the fake judges article as well as the original article about Costilla County, I just pulled both of them up because I wanted to address the citizens grand jury thing. Yeah, the original purpose for the Meet the Judge event was to establish a so-called citizens grand jury that subsequently issued a alleged writ of mandamus on January 8th of this year that claimed to so-called indict 8 Costilla County government agents for allegedly feloniously embezzling public funds. And then about a couple days later on January 12th, and also for those of you who may not remember January of earlier this year was when the events in Oregon were taking place at the refuge and such. So on January 12th, Doucette convened a similar citizens grand jury in Harney County, presumably for the same ends. So yes, there very much is some...
And that's why this is significant, because all the government needs is maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 people to go, okay, I'm with Bruce Doucette. Pick up their arms. This group marches into this office, and they're doing this. And all of a sudden you have a terror cell. All of a sudden you have a national incident. And that's what I think we're potentially looking at. Now, I don't have any evidence to suggest that. I think it's very possible because this man has been at so many high-profile situations. And Bruce Doucette hasn't been summoned to court. People around him have. Whether we're looking at Roger Marsh, who may or may not have been a federal agent, he may have just been a PTSD-stricken alcoholic who found himself in Costilla County and found himself bringing Bruce Doucette. I think that's a little bit of a coincidence, though. So, yeah, I'd like to know what his real name is, because, Kyle, have you found anything on Bruce Doucette going back years and years and years? How far does the paper trail exist on Bruce Doucette as a human being, as an internet personality, whatever someone could call him? Because I haven't seen anything past like the last year or two.
No, that's pretty much where the paper trail, begins. There isn't really anything in 20.
Person, if whether that's even his real name. None of.
Let me put it this way, Alex. When the events of Bundy Ranch were happening in 2014, the standoff between the Patriots and the BLM, nobody knew about Bruce Doucette because the guy didn't exist. Let me put it that way.
Right. We pretty much put his name out there on the map for the first time once he entered into the scene. There was only light references to him before. And whatever his oath of office is, I mean, honestly, and a lot of people have commented on this and are in agreement, it may as well have been put together by a child with a crayon.
Yes.
Because, I mean, it looks like something really photographed from like the last century in the whole. It's not even clear who's giving him this. It's just, I, Bruce Doucette, I wrote this letter, and here's this stamp.
Well, he also claims to be, and I think we mentioned this on a previous podcast, so I'll mention it briefly here. Basically, the supposed oath, which is really a fake oath if we're going to be honest, is saying things like he has jurisdiction everywhere on this planet. And I don't know about you, Alex, that sounds like a New World Order to me.
I want to hear more about that. Elaborate, because this is probably one of the most underdiscussed topics among the Bruce Doucette supporters.
Yeah, I'm just going off of memory here, so maybe if you give me a minute, I can pull it up real quick. But yes, basically, he's got jurisdiction everywhere on this planet. He can do no wrong. I think it even said he's immune from a few things or whatever. And again, this is not unique to Bruce Doucette. All of the fake judges say this in their oaths for anyone, or alleged oath documents, or swearing in, or declarations, or whatever, when they became the fake judges last year. But give me a moment, I'll pull that up.
No, I'm not trying to knock Bruce Doucette because he's a flat earther, but I don't believe that the flat earth movement has any real legitimacy. I do believe that it's a distraction from even other cosmic realities, or learning about the matrix we're in, or the solar flares and their effect on earthquakes and wars and the grid and consciousness. So I just want to note that briefly,
Yeah.
that he has a mix of fringe ideas. And the other thing that I'm gonna state as we wrap this up, because we're gonna get this online today, is that there's a number of people supporting Donald Trump that are off-gridders that are also supporting Bruce Doucette, and vice versa. And there's something about the psychological effect of coming across someone that says, I'm an authority figure. I'm going to help you. I'm going to be your messiah. And even if, a person may be full of it, it's the very fact that they're using talking points, Constitution talking points, and if they do it just right, and if it comes across right, that seems to matter more to people than actually investigating the truth, is what their first impressions are. So it's like there are people that understand that you need to make a powerful first impression, be a leader, be confident, and aspects of the masses will follow you without even doing any research. So I see people supporting Trump that aren't even doing any research to his ties to the Clinton family, or they're shrugging off the research that's already there. And the same thing with Bruce Doucette. They like that he claims to be a common law judge, but they fail to answer the question as to what's the situation with Bruce Doucette. No record of him before 2015, and him just now announcing himself to be a judge. They don't seem to want that kind of truth. So I mean, I think we're just kind of marveling at this cognitive dissonance.
Yes, and I just pulled up the fake oath. I won't read the whole thing for purpose of time, but there is the first sentence and then a short paragraph later on during the oath, which I do want to read because it kind of gives the idea for how kooky all of this is. So the first sentence reads, "I blank, a natural man, woman, living and breathing, and standing upon the land, and not a creature or subject to or of the holy sea/law of the sea, do hereby attest and affirm that I seek the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, in all matters, seen and unseen, known and unknown, real or imagined, tangible and intangible." All right, skipping down. Quote, "I have jurisdiction in all matters of all states and estates, nations and countries, where oppression, tyranny, suffrage, peonage, barratry, piracy, slavery of any type, involuntary servitude, antitrust, monopolizing, terrorism, exploitation, blackmail, extortion, wrongful detainments, and internments for profit have been alleged and or charged." Close quote. Again, that first part, "I have jurisdiction in all matters, ... of all nations and countries." Again, sounds like a New World Order to me, unless I'm misunderstanding something here. The rest of the fake, people can find this if they type in the fake oath of the fake judges. I put up a copy of the entire document as well as a downloadable PDF where they can actually see it in its original form. But yeah, Alex, I mean, even there's a reason why the fake oath is fake. This is not what an actual government judge, a man in a black robe, this is not what their oaths would say at all. This is completely different. It's a fiction.
It is a fallacy, and if you think about it long enough and you look at some of these characters, you can see how certain people that might be I don't know, Alex Jones Kool-Aid drinkers that aren't seen through his BS, as well as Trump, how they can also fall for this. Kyle, thanks for coming on. Any other really important bullet points or details that we need to add to this story?
Really, basically, one thing, if anybody starts talking about corporate United States, you're dealing with a sovereign citizen. That false idea is something I've debunked at length in the past on other podcasts with other patriots and so forth. So if anybody hears about I'm a superior court judge, or have you heard about the corporate United States, they're a sovereign citizen. They're going to lead you, and if you allow them to, they're going to lead you down a path a rabbit trail that leads absolutely nowhere and will not help you restore your liberty. And quite frankly, at this point, I would suggest that people treat sovereign citizens much like how they would cops, at least in the sense of put a video camera on them. You know, I know some people like to film cops a lot. Well, what I support instead is film the sovereign citizens. Film them, get their statements, get their faces on record so that they can be identified and people can make their own choices accordingly, whether to associate or ostracize them at their pleasure. And having said that, Alex, thanks for having me on again.
Thank you. And for those listening, if you have additional information on the real Bruce Doucette, feel free to contact either of us. My website is alexansary.tv. Kyle's is the last Bastille, spelled BASTILLE.com. We'll be back with more information and developments as they become available.